This is an Eyewitness News special report, a River Watch update.
I'm Keith Martin, standing on the banks of the Susquehanna River on the Kingston side in Nesbitt Park. You're looking across the river at Wilkes-Barre, the downtown area. Since I last talked to you at 9 o'clock, two things have happened here at this site which are of note. First of all, a line that I placed just above the water line when I talked from here 90 minutes ago has now been obscured by the rising water, indicating to me approximately a 6-inch rise in that last hour and a half. Also, the police line, which was right about where I'm standing, has now been moved back about 15 yards so that the crowd of people, actually several hundred people standing here looking at the river, has been moved back. Police are on duty here and at many vantage points along the river to keep people back, the curious, who are interested in what the river is doing. Now, the latest word on what the river is doing will come from the Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency. It is right now being voiced in a news conference at the EMA headquarters just over my right shoulder on the other side of the river. Director Jim Syracuse has new information from the River Forecasting Service in Harrisburg. Donna Crilley is at that news conference. She will be back over here just as soon as possible, and certainly will have the latest information for you no later than the beginning of our 11 o'clock news, possibly before. If we do have it before then, we will cut in. What we're seeing is the river still rising at this point. The last official level that we had from the EMA was 26.5 feet. Since then, on our AP wire machine from the River Forecasting Service, the indication has been that the river is now at about 28 feet. The last official crest notification that we had, or estimate, was that the river would crest at 27 to 29 feet sometime after midnight in the very early morning hours. Now, what is happening with the computer forecasts at this point is being released, as I mentioned, by Jim Syracuse right now. We will have that information for you just as soon as it becomes possible. Since I last talked to you, I can also tell you that the Towanda Creek, which is in Bradford County between Canton and Monroeton, has left its banks. The Bradford County area does have several low-lying areas where the river is backing up. And let me explain this to you. As the river level rises, what it does where the mouth of the creek meets the river level is so high in those places that it forces the water trying to come out of the creek into the river to back up, which spreads it out over low-lying areas. So for residents who live near the mouths of creeks anywhere along the length of the Susquehanna River in low-lying areas, they should pay particular attention to what is happening. Do not leave those windows for very long. You should possibly move to higher ground if you note that the water is getting anywhere close to the point that it threatens your property or your home. I'm going to walk slowly in this direction because if you don't think people are interested in what is happening with the river right now, many people are interested. In addition to the tens and hundreds of thousands who are watching on television, I want to show you part of the crowd that is gathered here at Nesbitt Park on the Kingston side of the river. I'm going to walk up this way so maybe our light gets in this direction. There are some slight smiles on these faces, but there is also concern on the faces. They, like us, waiting for the latest information to come from the River Forecasting Service through the Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency. They need the information. As soon as we have it, we will pass it along to you. I'm going to walk back down now toward the river. Again, the police line was about here before. You saw where it is now. It has been moved back, and the officers are competently on duty, making sure that people, the curious, do not go down close to the river. You may not be able to see it from here, but every so often a fairly significant piece of debris goes down the river. We've seen some tree stumps, we've seen some logs moving past here on the riverfront on the Kingston side of the river in Wilkes-Barre. So again, here's where we stand. The Luzerne County EMA is going to release a newly updated forecast on when and how high the Susquehanna River will crest. We'll have that information for you just as soon as it becomes available. It is being released in a news conference right now. This has been a special River Watch report. I'm Keith Martin. Stay tuned to Eyewitness News for the full story as it unfolds.
This is an Eyewitness News special report, a River Watch update.
I'm Keith Martin. The Susquehanna River continues to rise at this hour toward a crest which is predicted to be 28 to 30 feet sometime early tomorrow afternoon. But the latest information comes from low-lying areas where the rising water is causing increasing problems. We turn now to Donna Crilley, who's live on the banks of the Susquehanna River in Wilkes-Barre. Donna, the situation right now in Wyoming County.
The situation in Wyoming County is much more serious at this hour, Keith. Commissioners have asked people who live along the Susquehanna River in Wyoming County to evacuate their homes, at least for this evening. What has happened is that minor flooding was predicted for that area, and the River Forecasting Center has upgraded that prediction to major flooding. So some people have already been rushed from their homes, but if you need assistance, we have some phone numbers that you can call for help. Those phone numbers in Wyoming County are 836-3200, or you can dial 836-2828. And those numbers will get you through to the Wyoming County Commissioners, and they are prepared to help people who need to be evacuated from their homes. Again, Keith, some people have already been evacuated, but emergency management crews are prepared to do whatever it takes tonight to make sure people get out of their homes, get to higher ground, and get to safety. So again, anyone who lives along the river, the Susquehanna River in Wyoming County, is being asked to evacuate for the evening. Keith?
Donna, what accommodations or preparations are being made to help those people?
Right now, the only official place that's being set up is the Mehalshick Fire Social Hall. Mehalshick is the biggest area of concern. Emergency management officials are most worried about homes in that area, so they have set up the Mehalshick Fire Social Hall for anybody who needs to go there and seek shelter.
Thank you very much, Donna Crilley, reporting live from along the banks of the Susquehanna River in Wilkes-Barre. Let me turn now to update the situation in Luzerne County in the area protected by the dike and levee system. Again, the river crest projected to be by the Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency at 28 to 30 feet sometime tomorrow afternoon. At last word, the river was at 26.8 feet in Wilkes-Barre, rising at the rate of about 3 inches per hour. Now, the Luzerne County EMA has set up a toll-free telephone number for people seeking information. That number is 1-800-821-3716. That's 1-800-821-3716. You may encounter a busy signal, and again, the operators there will only have general information. For the latest information, you need to stay tuned to Eyewitness News. The other piece of information we've just come aware of is that in the Berwick area, in the Briar Creek Borough area around the Old Zephyr Diner, crews are being called in to do some precautionary sandbagging. That work will begin within the next hour. That, again, in a low-lying area. That is where the problems are. The Wyoming Valley area protected by the dike and levee system, which extends to a height of 37 to 39 feet, well above any level to which the river is expected to rise within the next 12 to 24 hours before the water starts to fall. We'll have another live update report coming up at 12:35. Stay tuned for Eyewitness News for the latest on River Watch.
Now, live from your hometown station, WBRE TV, this is Eyewitness News at 6.
The Susquehanna River and other rain-swollen streams are over their banks today. This is the scene in West Pittston, where the river is covering Susquehanna Avenue and turning people's front yards into lakes. In West Nanticoke, the intersection of routes 11 and 29 is closed due to flooding. And just down the street, residents are sandbagging along East Poplar Street as high waters from Toby's Creek back into the storm drains. A flooded Toby's Creek in Edwardsville is also causing problems, prompting sandbagging at the Mark Plaza. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Timmeney. Many residents are preparing for the worst tonight. A state of emergency has been declared in a flood-ravaged Wyoming County, and in Luzerne County, as many as 10,000 homes could be affected if the river crests at 30 feet as expected tomorrow. We have live team coverage from across northeastern and central Pennsylvania. We begin with reporter Donna Crilley, who has the very latest on river levels. Donna?
Well, Don, good evening. It's day 4 of the River Watch, and it's still on the rise. Barely had a chance to go down after it crested last evening at 28 feet. And we're going to check right now with Jim Syracuse of Luzerne County Emergency Management. Jim, what is happening with the river tonight? When is it going to crest here in Wilkes-Barre?
We're expecting a crest, according to the River Forecast Center in Harrisburg, of around 30 feet sometime late tomorrow afternoon.
How fast is it increasing right now?
It's a very slow rise. The temperatures have a lot to do with that. At the same time, the rainfall that was expected up above didn't materialize as heavy as they had originally thought. And so right now, we look to be in pretty good shape, but it should crest around 30.
Okay, now for the most part, it seems the rain has dropped off. What has been happening to the streams?
Some of the local streams earlier today, during the night last night, the early morning hours, we received anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inch in some of the areas. In Luzerne County, we received anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches. And because of that, some of the streams did come out of their banks slightly. We were forced to add a flash flood warning earlier for Toby's Creek coming down from the back mountain into Luzerne, into Kingston. That has since been canceled, and we're back to flash flood watch. So all the streams are receding back in their banks.
And we'll keep a close watch on them. Okay, thanks, Jim. Now, we have 324 miles of the North Branch of the Susquehanna from New York State all the way down to Sunbury. And let's take a look throughout some of those areas. How the river's doing right now in Wilkes-Barre. Very new numbers. It's at 28.96 feet. It's expected to crest Friday evening from 29 to 30 feet. Looking at Lock Haven now, the crest there expected to come tonight. Right now, the river is at 18.5 feet, and it's expected to go to 19 or 20 feet. In Williamsport, the numbers are these: 19.8 feet currently, a crest expected tonight of 20 to 20.5 feet. In Towanda, it is currently 20.20 feet, and we don't have the information as to when a crest is expected. In Danville, we are seeing 22.2 feet currently, the crest coming Friday evening at 23 to 24 feet. And in Sunbury, the river is at 25.1 feet, and the crest will also be Friday night there at 26 to 27 feet. Now, one thing that is consistent all up and down the Susquehanna is rumors. They are flying, and everyone in emergency management positions wants to put them to rest. No floodgates have been opened anywhere, and they will not be. The only thing upstate from us is extra protection, and one area that really needs some extra protection is Wyoming County, where Diana Penna is live via satellite. Diana, how serious is the situation there?
It's very serious, Donna. The river has no doubt left its mark. Behind me, you can see piles of sand and sandbags left in people's front yards all day. Volunteer firefighters have been trying to prevent the water from getting into homes. It's so bad here, the Wyoming County Commissioners have declared a state of emergency. And what that means, no one is allowed to trespass along properties down by the river from dawn to dusk. If they do, they're subject to arrest. The situation is very serious here, and the concerns are many.
The Commissioners declare all flooded properties to be off limits to spectators and all others except residents, emergency personnel, and the media.
Wyoming County is now considered one of the hardest hit areas. In Falls, Exeter Township, several families are forced to evacuate, many by boat, because River Road is completely underwater. More than 50 homes are in jeopardy. Along King Road, the rising water catches many neighbors by surprise, including Frank Hans. He claims while local emergency workers are doing a great job, the state is not providing enough information.
Somebody's been ignoring us because we're not getting information. We get things like it's going to come in, it's going to happen 15, 16 feet, it's all over, and then it comes up to 30 feet, and now they come in here and they say it might go to 34. Who's talking? Who do we believe?
Emotions are no doubt running high, with county officials scrambling to help those in need. During the past couple of days, the communications center has received hundreds of calls of help.
And I could walk out to that yesterday and touch the tree.
Kathy Kozlowski was one of those callers. She lives on Diamond Terrace. For her, a dream of living along the water has turned into a nightmare.
I'm nervous, I'm upset, I'm trying not to be a woman, you know? I'm trying not to cry, but it's hard, it's real hard when you see all your stuff being ruined.
Volunteer firefighters from several area companies fill bags with sand, hoping to keep the water out of homes. Neighbors keep the coffee coming as everyone helps each other.
We dumped our tones, and Mahopany dumped theirs to come down and help, and it was just a matter of whoever was available. It's a y'all come party.
They're just great. I mean, they're the salt of the earth. I mean, they are the type of people that make this world go round.
While volunteers work fast to beat the rising water, their efforts are helping to ease the fears in the worlds of these folks who watch and worry. And for these folks, it's been very long days. They've been on pins and needles. Of course, they're not alone. We go live now to Kathy Bozinski in Luzerne County with reaction from the folks there.
Well, Diana, downstream here in the Plainsville section of Plains Township, people can definitely sympathize. You see behind me, 6 homes have had to be evacuated at this point. There is no formal evacuation, but we see 2 of the homes right now, and they are isolated, surrounded by floodwaters. And at this point, several more homes are being threatened by the rising waters. The skies cleared this afternoon, making it a nice afternoon for a boat trip down O'Neill Street in the Plainsville section of Plains Township. At the intersection of O'Neill and McCullough, floodwaters lapped at the home which Kathy Thomas and her family moved into just 1 month ago.
Well, our cellar is completely gone. We have about 2 more steps before the first floor. My 5 children were evacuated by the Red Cross. They were up in a hotel. And my husband and I are staying here until it gets too unbearable, and then we're leaving.
A peek down the cellar reveals a muddy pool just a step or 2 away from the first floor. Through the kitchen window, an ocean view. From the back porch, you can call to neighbors who are now completely cut off by floodwaters.
How are you going to get out? Straight till I hit high ground.
Andy Staransky has lived next door for more than 40 years and through several floods. He's debating the accuracy of river watchers who say the river hasn't topped 30 feet.
We get about 29 feet up to that pole, and past the mailbox is over 30 feet. But then 1936 it was like up to that block up there, and 72 was up on the highway. So I imagine this is going to, there's something wrong, and we can't understand. They keep on telling us it's going to go only to 30 feet. It's impossible. I think it's over 30 feet now.
As you can see, the primary mode of transportation here in Plainsville at this moment is rowboat, at that one hitched near a home very nearby. As to concerns about the accuracy of river level reporting, Emergency Management Agency Director Jim Syracuse said this afternoon that they are accurate, and he invited actually members of the media to come out on the bridge to take part in the testing and view the testing to show that the river levels are accurate right now. One important note, just within the hour, Plains Township Police have closed off a stretch of river road near Plainsville, not because of a threat of flooding, but because of the steady stream of onlookers and curiosity seekers who are passing by. The traffic was just unbearable. That has now been closed to all but local traffic and traffic for emergency crews. That's how it is in Plainsville right now. This is Kathy Bozinski with the Live Eye. Let's go back to Dawn Timmeney in the studio. Dawn?
Thank you, Kathy. Meantime, downriver in the Danville area, residents are trying to make the best of a situation. Rick Mason reports from north central Pennsylvania.
If it comes up, it comes up. I mean, it's nothing we're going to do to stop it.
Some people living along the Susquehanna River below Danville are taking this flooding in stride. Mary Kay Ray and her family live in a converted canal boat. The water's 15 feet deeper than normal in her backyard. It's 6 feet deep in her basement, and she expects several inches of river water to eventually reach her newly remodeled kitchen.
It's just kind of scary. I'm just worried about losing my furniture and my rugs. And right now, like I say, my main concern is my father-in-law and my animals.
Neighbor Lillian Schaefer lost her heat this morning, but she shrugs off the high waters.
I'm not worried. I've gone through these. So it's coming up very, very slowly.
Robert Ray isn't worried. He remembers several floods worse than this, like the one in 36.
I pull the boat right up on the porch roof and step out of the boat into the upstairs window.
Bill Cerroti has moved all he can from his place. Now he's just visiting the neighbors.
I lost my, the water heater. The heater's underwater. But, the things were movable are up on the first floor. Wait to see how high the river comes.
With the continuing threat of rain and snow melt, for many people living along the river and streams, it continues to be a guessing game. Here along the north branch of the Susquehanna outside Danville, the river may crest tomorrow or Saturday. For now, the watching and the waiting continue. Rick Mason, Eyewitness News, near Danville.
Now, live from your hometown station, WBRE TV, this is Eyewitness News Nightcast.
Forget about driving here. Boat is the only way to get down O'Neill Street and a couple of others in the Luzerne County community of Plainsville. Vehicles are submerged in the deep waters, and the tops of swing sets where children normally play are barely peeping from the flooded streets. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dawn Timmeney in for Keith Martin. The flooding is forcing some residents to leave their homes, causing some businesses to shut down, and is even prompting the Bloomsburg Area School District to cancel classes tomorrow. How high will the river go and when will it crest? We turn to reporter Kathy Bozinski, who is live along the river in Nesbitt Park for an answer. Kathy?
Well, Donna, as you can see the river behind me, the floodwaters continue to rage, and a new element, it is raining out here, and that is not very good news. Within the past 20 minutes, I spoke with Jim Syracuse, director of Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency. He says that 2 lines of storms are dumping about a 1/4 inch to 1/3 of an inch of rain each as they pass through the area. Now, that is not going to have that much of an impact on the river, but it will affect streams which are already near bankful, and they will be keeping a watch on streams throughout the area tonight. As for the river itself, I said there won't be that much of an impact. Let's take a closer look at the waters as they continue to rage, looking very high over the bridge, and let's go to the current statistics. Right now in the Wilkes-Barre area, the river stands at 29.12 feet and is slowly rising. Upriver at Towanda, we're currently at 21.44 feet and gradually rising. The river is expected to crest tomorrow afternoon. There's no determined time, but it should be early afternoon tomorrow at about 30 feet. Well, this information is all well and good, but it doesn't mean very much tonight to the people who live in Plainsville in Luzerne County. While some people there have given up the fight against the raging floodwaters, others still are continuing to struggle. It's twilight, and an eerie silence envelops O'Neill Street in Plainsville. It's broken only by the occasional splash of an oar from a rowboat, as the curious travel streets now covered with more than 5 feet of river water. The people who live in these houses have long since moved to higher ground. At the corner of O'Neill and McCullough Streets, Greg Thomas spends the evening watching the water creep closer and closer to his first floor. He's puzzled by current river level readings.
Yesterday it was 28 feet at CREST. Half hour, 45 minutes ago it says 28.66. Not a half a foot could do this much damage because it was nowhere near. It was 50, 60 yards away from my house yesterday when it crested. I can't see how it could do this kind of damage.
Just across McCullough Street, the water works its way toward another home. Neighbors help as Plains Township crews deliver sandbags, the last attempt at keeping the basement dry at Tim Wostowski's house.
It's coming in slow. I just called up for more sandbags, and I mean, we didn't yank the motor out of the furnace yet, and we need the furnace for hot water and heat right now.
Residents of this Plainsville neighborhood say they will stay with their homes as long as they possibly can. Now, there are some communities in our area that are dealing with more than just flooding tonight. Within the past hour or so, it's been reported that the town of Matukonis and the lower portions of Sweeney have suffered a complete power outage. This on top of floodwaters which continue to rise in those riverfront communities. Now in Wyoming County, things are so severe that a state of disaster emergency has been declared. A dusk to dawn curfew is in effect, and trespassers along riverfront properties will be arrested. Reporter Diana Penna spent all day today in Wyoming County, and she tells us a story of struggle and of a community pulling together.
The dream of living next to the river has turned into a nightmare for people in Wyoming County.
I'm nervous, I'm upset, I'm trying not to be a woman, you know? I'm trying not to cry, but it's hard, it's real hard when you see all your stuff being ruined.
In the village of Falls, Exeter Township, the river starts to swallow up several homes and washes out entire streets. Hundreds of calls have been coming into the Wyoming County Communications Center. Dispatchers organize a sandbagging team of volunteer firefighters. This group helps residents in Tunkhannock Township. As they shovel, load, and pack bags around houses on Diamond Terrace, Betty Pickering keeps the coffee coming. She's thankful for their efforts. She knows how terrible the river's threat can be. In the flood of '72, she lost her home.
It's bad. It's real bad.
County officials worry about just how bad the damage will be and what's to come.
We haven't had a chance to get out there and get an estimated damage amount, and I'm sure it's going to be way up there.
And when night falls, volunteer firefighters enforce the dusk to dawn no trespassing rule. They'll stand watch all night.
We have set up with the American Red Cross to provide shelter and food for anyone that might need it. So far we haven't had anyone that needs any assistance, but it is open to the community in case they need it.
It promises to be a very long night for the people who live along the river. While many have already been evacuated, for those who haven't, they're dealing with fear of the unknown, and all they can do is hope for the best. Tonight, many will wonder what the river will bring tomorrow. I'm Diana Penna, Eyewitness News, Wyoming County.
And once again, the rain continues to fall over our area. That will impact small streams already running near the tops of their banks the most. The river will not be impacted as much by the rain, but the waters continue to rise. The crest expected to come sometime tomorrow afternoon at around 30 feet. I'll be back later in this newscast with the very latest river level information. This is Kathy Bozinski with the Live Eye along the banks of the Susquehanna at Wilkes-Barre. Dawn?
Thank you, Kathy. It's difficult to tell where the Susquehanna River ends and streets, front yards, and parks begin in many spots. Ducks were spotted swimming over third base in one Luzerne County ballpark. And here in West Pittston, the river covers Susquehanna Avenue, making it impassable. Many people's yards look like lakes as the water slowly creeps toward their homes. In West Nanticoke, high waters force officials to close the intersection of routes 11 and 29 to traffic. And just down the street, everyone pitches into Sandbag East Poplar Street as Toby's Creek floods, backing into the storm drains. Below Danville in Point Township, Northumberland County, the water fills basements and is making its way to the first floors of some homes. Residents have moved many of their belongings to the second floor. A few have already lost their electric as the waiting game continues. And Toby's Creek in Edwardsville is causing problems as well tonight. Sandbagging is done to try and keep the waters from reaching businesses at the Mark Plaza. High waters make it difficult for vehicles to get through the parking lot. Although for some children, the flooding made for an interesting bicycle ride earlier this evening. The story of the night is a rising Susquehanna River. For the very latest, we go live once again to reporter Kathy Bozinski, who is along the river in Nesbitt Park. Kathy?
Well, Don, it continues to rain out here, and as you said, the Susquehanna continues to rise. I was on the phone just a few moments ago with the Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency. Let me back out of the way to give you the very latest river information. Currently at Wilkes-Barre, the river has risen in the past hour. We are now at 29.18 feet and rising from 29.12. At Towanda, 21.46, up from...
Now, live from your hometown station, WBRE TV, this is Eyewitness News Midday.
The swollen Susquehanna continues to rise as anxious residents along the river wait for it to crest. Good afternoon, I'm Donna Crilley sitting in for Dawn Timmeney. That crest is now expected sometime this evening in Towanda and sometime tomorrow morning in Wilkes-Barre, a new prediction. And it's small consolation to residents in many areas along the Susquehanna. One of those hardest hit is Plainsville in Luzerne County. And that's where Andy Mehalshick is with an unusual vantage point. Andy?
Donna, we have been reporting live from the banks of the Susquehanna River all week long. The entire Eyewitness News team has been providing some rather unique perspectives on the flooding situation. Well, this midday report, we decided to do our story from on top of the Susquehanna River in a rowboat, or I should say at least on the waters that overflowed from the Susquehanna. We are in Plainsville in Luzerne County. My photographer, Mark Rothenberger, is at the end of the boat. We can show you what's happening here. The water, if I steer the boat to the left here, the water is surrounding most of these homes here. In fact, the main mode of transportation here is indeed a rowboat. Now, these waters began to rise several days ago here, slowly inching its way up. And look over that way, there's a trailer that is completely surrounded. That man just built that trailer less than a year ago. Again, the Susquehanna continues to rise, and the fears continue to increase. With me on the boat here in Plainsville, which I guess would be considered one of the main streets here, is Ed Zuba. Ed, you moved out of here some time ago. Why did you move?
Well, I was caught here in the Agnes flood of '72. My house used to be right next to these two white ones. And the government bought me out in '72, so I decided to leave. I said I didn't want to be caught in this water no more. I've been down here for 14 years prior to that, and I'm glad I'm out of here.
What do you think when you see this water here?
Well, this is bad. It makes your stomach get sick being caught in this all the time, see? So, and I feel so sorry for these people being caught down here all the time.
Okay, Zuba, thank you very much. Let's check out the Susquehanna River levels from the rowboat here. These are the current numbers from the river watchers. In Wilkes-Barre, the level is 29.60 and rising. In Towanda, 21.96 and rising. The Wilkes-Barre level is expected to crest sometime this evening at around 30 feet, which we are very close to, and Towanda cresting at 22 feet. Now, as we talked about, this is not the only place that boats are being used in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. They are also being used in another part of Luzerne County, Edwardsville. Let's show you those pictures taken just a short time ago this morning at the Mark Plaza. the waters of the Toby Creek surrounding Mark Plaza. Now that area is not protected by dikes, so this will happen when flooding occurs of streams. Toby's Creek, many of the stores are closed, but like Kmart, that store is open. The problem is they are shuttling employees by boat to the stores, but they cannot take customers. We're told because of insurance liabilities, they do not have insurance to cover people in case they would fall out of that boat. We did catch up with several people who were walking through or trudging or trying to drive through with four-wheel drive vehicles. Again, some stores are closed, but if you go to Kmart, you will have to find your own way across that mini river. Now, of course, we did ask the question, the rain is falling. Will it have an impact on these streams and creeks? We posed that to Jim Syracuse of Luzerne County EMA.
We were fortunate that we were able to get 2 messages out to the communities to begin closely monitoring the streams. We had some updated information. They watched the streams. It did have some impact on the streams, but fortunately not as much as it could have. None of the streams left their banks. Those that are over their banks, they added a little bit more water, overflowed a little more, but no major increases.
Alrighty, so right now, again, the impact of the rain being minimized by Luzerne County EMA officials, but that does not minimize the fears of people who live in places like Plainsville and people who are using rowboats like this one. Again, this would normally be one of the streets here in Plainsville in Luzerne County, and a good rower I am not. But again, a lot of people are dealing with floodwaters like this throughout northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Of course, Donna will have live reports throughout the day on top of the Susquehanna or on the banks here on Eyewitness News. Back to you.
And I'm Mark Hiller with an update on the west branch of the Susquehanna River, where a flood warning remains in effect for a portion of that branch. However, in Clinton County, the Susquehanna River crested within its banks. Let's get a look at some of the stats. At Renova first, the river stands at 11.41 feet. It's falling. It has crested below the flood stage of 16 feet. At Lock Haven, the level this hour, 17.1 feet on the way down. It crested below the flood stage of 21 feet. In Lycoming County, the Susquehanna River at Williamsport crested and is falling from 19.99 feet. That's as close as you can get to flood stage without being above it. It was above flood stage. It's now barely within its banks. Might see a little more movement there throughout the afternoon. Meanwhile, at Muncie, the observed stage this midday, 21.59 feet. It has crested above the flood stage of 16 feet. And in Union County at Lewisburg, the level is 21.31 feet. It's expected to crest between 22 and 23 feet. The flood stage at Lewisburg is 18 feet. Now, the swollen Susquehanna River and other high-running waterways have resulted in some closed roads. Here are a few of the major ones for you. First up on that list of road closures in Luzerne County, Route 11 from Cary Avenue Bridge in Plymouth to Berwick, from noon to except local traffic. That's the problem there along Route 11. Also, we have River Street in 44th from Wyoming Avenue to Rudder Avenue closed this midday. We move on next to Susquehanna Avenue in West Pittston. That's closed. Luzerne Avenue to Erie also closed. Meanwhile, on Route 239 in Mackinac, that roadway is closed as well. State Route 30 in Wapwallopen and Nescopec closed this midday because of the river flooding. Luzerne County's Route 92 in Exeter Township from Oberdorfer to Sutton Creek Road closed today. Also, Route 29 between Route 11 and Chase, that's closed today. Route 11 between the South Cross Valley Bridge and Hunlock Creek to the post office is closed today. Meanwhile, the Luzerne County South Cross Valley Expressway is open north to Plymouth, so you might want to keep that in mind if you're traveling to Cross Valley. Luzerne County in West Nanticoke, the bridge is open now. That's good news. Meanwhile, Northampton Street in Kingston from Market Street to Maple Street is closed because of the high running water. In Wyoming County in Falls, King and River Roads both closed from that high running Susquehanna. Wyoming County in Exeter Township, River Road is closed today. Also in Wyoming County, Route 92, again we see Oberdorf and Apple Tree Road to Sutton Creek Road closed. That's an extension of the problem that we reported earlier in Luzerne County. Wyoming County's Route 267 in Mahoopany is closed this midday. Also in Union County, part of Route 15 just south of Allenwood to White Deer Township closed today. Lycoming County in Montoursville, Mill Street is closed. In Lycoming County in Montgomery, South Main and Bower Streets closed today. In Muncie Creek Township, the old River Road there is closed today. Also old Route 47 from Muncie to Hall Station at State Route 2014, that is closed today. And those are a few of the major road closings today. We'll have the all-important AccuWeather forecast in just a few moments. Now back to you, Donna.
Thanks, Mark. We have a new development this midday in Lackawanna County. Officials have partially opened the floodgates at the Stillwater Dam. That's in Uniondale, Susquehanna County. We are told that just about now, residents in the Carbondale area will likely notice a change in the level of the Lackawanna. Increases in river levels in Scranton are expected late this afternoon. The Lackawanna is not expected to approach flood stage, though. Officials took this step so they could control the water, which was threatening to go over the spillway. The Lackawanna River does flow into the Susquehanna. We want to point that out. Now, the release at the Stillwater Dam is 300 cubic feet per second. According to Luzerne County Emergency Management, this release will have minimal impact on the Susquehanna River, that it really should not affect the Susquehanna at all. And a state of emergency continues this day in Wyoming County. Pictures from communities such as Falls show streets that are now part of the river, a river turning homes into islands. In Tunkhannock Township, a sandbagging team helps to protect homes, while county officials worry about the extent of the damage and what it'll cost.
We haven't had a chance to get out there and get an estimated damage amount, and I'm sure it's going to be way up there.
Police are enforcing a dusk to dawn curfew, turning away sightseers and handing out tickets. And we are still waiting for a dry spell with the weather. Is there one on the way? Mark Hiller will have the answer next in the AccuWeather forecast.
Now, live from your hometown station, WBRE TV, this is Eyewitness News at 6.
Travel is becoming more difficult in many parts of the area as floodwaters invade roadways, closing some, including a heavily traveled Route 11. In some places, like the Mark Plaza here in Edwardsville, boat is the only way to get from one place to another. And besides a rising Susquehanna, the Lackawanna River is also up after officials opened the Stillwater Dam as water levels approach the top of the spillway. Fortunately, the Lackawanna is not expected to approach flood stage. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Timmeney. The flood of '93 is in its 5th day as a raging Susquehanna continues its wrath. We have live team coverage once again this evening, beginning with reporter Donna Crilley, who is along a swollen Susquehanna River in Wilkes-Barre with the very latest on levels. Donna?
Well, Don, people are still waiting, watching, and worrying. The Susquehanna here in Wilkes-Barre continues to rise. It's almost at 30 feet, which is its expected crest. There's good news from Towanda. The river's been steadily dropping since noon today, and we don't have an official crest, but it looks like that would mean that Wilkes-Barre would begin cresting about 12 hours from noon. So again, about midnight, it looks like the river might begin to go down around the Wilkes-Barre area. One of the concerns people have is about the floodgates being opened at the Stillwater Dam on the Lackawanna River. We're going to turn now to Luzerne County EMA Director Jim Syracuse for the answer. Jim, the Lackawanna flows into the Susquehanna, so what kind of impact is that going to have on the river here?
We won't even be able to measure the release that's in progress. It's 300 cubic feet per second. Before we could even take a measurement to show the difference, it would have to be above 2,000 cubic feet per second. So there is a great difference. It's a very minimal amount, will not affect our levels.
Okay, when our levels do begin to start going down, how quickly will the river subside? And basically what I'm asking is, how long will people have to put up with flooding and problems like that?
Just as it came up slow, we expect it to go down slow. The temperatures will have a lot to do with that. We anticipate maybe into Tuesday or Wednesday before we're down below the 22-foot flood level. That's the point where the dike system is no longer holding back the water, where we can relieve some of the closures that have been put in place and let the streams empty back into the river.
And breathe a sigh of relief.
And breathe a sigh of relief.
All right, thanks, Jim Syracuse, Luzerne County EMA. The EMA, as well as the River Forecasting Center, have been giving us constant updates on river levels, and we're going to give you the latest right now. At Wilkes-Barre, the river registers at 29.76 feet. The crest is expected, as I said, to hit at 30 to 31 feet early Saturday morning or late tonight. Flood stage in Wilkes-Barre is at 22 feet. You'll see almost all of our reporting areas are well above flood stage. In Towanda, 21.77. Again, no official crest yet. Flood stage at Towanda is 16 feet. Lock Haven is the only area that is not above flood stage. Currently reporting at 17. It is falling very slowly, and flood stage in Towanda is 21 feet. Danville coming in at 23.7 feet, and that's expected to crest at 24 to 24.5 feet, and that crest is coming much later than everywhere else, sometime Saturday in the afternoon or evening. Flood stage at Danville is 20 feet. In Sunbury, 27 feet currently. The crest at 27 to 27.5 feet, and that will be tonight. And it will be at 24. That is the flood stage at Danville is about 24 feet. Now, many people want to see for themselves just what all of these reporting records we're giving you look like. I'm going to take a quick climb up the bank and let you see all of the people who are coming down to the river here in Wilkes-Barre to see for themselves what this looks like and compare the floodwaters to other floods in the past. That's the situation here at Nesbitt Park in Wilkes-Barre. I'm Donna Crilley reporting with the Live Eye. Back to you, Dawn.
Thank you, Donna. Homes and businesses have been flooded and streets swallowed up from one end of the Susquehanna to the other. Tonight we're going to take you down the river for a look at some of the damage. Reporter Rick Mason has more from one of the most severely hit areas, Wyoming County, where a state of emergency continues.
Wyoming County, where a state of emergency remains and dozens of families have been flooded out. Families are out of their homes from Meshopin to Falls, but some are staying put, and neighbors are keeping an eye on neighbors.
He won't leave. He told me he'd find him down in Chesapeake before he'd leave here.
Paul Gravel has traded his car for a canoe this week, but he's not worried.
Oh, we'll stay tonight. We were here last night. So we'll stay until the water goes down and then clean it out.
Charles Murphy heard about the flooding from Florida and headed north to check out the summer home he's building.
I see a lot of my things floating off that I didn't tie down. It's part of the game, I guess.
But he was smart to build on stilts following a neighbor's advice. Visiting some people in Wyoming County this week is quite an adventure. We're heading over to Bill Crook's house. Bill has lived along this river over 30 years. It'll take just a little bit more water than this to force him out.
I've been through this a couple of times. What makes me mad is the damn mud's on the concrete and I have to wash it off.
Volunteers are manning the Red Cross emergency shelters. They had one customer here last night.
I think there's more to come, really. You know, everybody's saying it's done and over, but I don't think it is.
The floodwaters are expected to start receding overnight. Rick Mason, Eyewitness News, Wyoming County.
Further down the Susquehanna, the river is also leaving its devastating mark. Reporter Diana Penna is standing by live via satellite in East Lewisburg with a look at the river's impact from West Nanticoke south. Diana?
That's right, Don. Right now we're in Northumberland County. This is considered the west branch of the river. You can see behind me the river has invaded this neighborhood. The folks here tell me this morning they could drive down this street. You see, that's quite impossible. Now, we began our journey, as you said, in the West Nanticoke region. We worked our way down the northern branch and back up the western branch, and everyone says the same thing. They're all taking a wait-and-see attitude, and for some people, more evacuations are at hand.
The Susquehanna River has taken over Route 11 in West Nanticoke, a pool of murky water several feet deep. You can't even see backyards. It's so frightening. We caught up with this family just before they evacuate.
We're getting out of here. We're really getting out of here. It's scary with the rain and all.
In Chickashinny, the river forces creeks to overflow, swallowing up businesses and homes. Some have dangerous fun in Bloomsburg, where intersections have turned into huge ponds, giving students at the middle and high schools the day off. This sight in Northumberland County is common as the river makes unwelcome stops in backyards. Hip boots are the clothes of choice to get around and secure down possessions. And homes have become islands in Sunbury, where the rising river washes out neighborhood streets. People here are trying to make the best of it.
Actually, me and the wife just talked it over, and I'm gonna carry some bricks in the basement and jack our appliances up about a foot, because they say we're supposed to get maybe another 8-10 inches, and that'll put the river in the basement.
And that hasn't happened yet for John. He's considered one of the lucky ones. Here you see the fast and furious current of the river from another vantage point overlooking Lewisburg. Like most places, emergency management agencies in the county are taking many calls, and they will be there 24 hours a day for anyone who needs help or information. That number there on your screen, 988-4217. Of course, you can call your local county emergency center for help and information. I'll tell you, the story is the same. Everyone we talk to says they can't wait till this whole thing is over so they can clean up and get back on with their lives. Of course, the river and the rising waterways has caused many road closings, and now we go live to Kathy Bozinski in Luzerne County with more on that story.
Thank you, Diana. You mentioned West Nanticoke. Well, just above West Nanticoke in Plymouth Township, the river has made its assault on the low-lying areas. Behind me, you see the side yard and backyard of the Matukonis family home. They are still in there, but the floodwaters are lapping at the first floor of that home. Should they have to evacuate, they're only going to be able to go one way because they live right along Route 11. Photographer Mark Rothenberger is going to take a walk with me and show you what is happening south of here. This is a stretch of Route 11 in Plymouth Township. As you can see, it is completely flooded. It's not passable at this point, and traffic is being blocked north of here. One bit of rumor control at this point. The Cary Avenue Bridge linking Hanover Township with the Plymouth area is open. We crossed it just within the hour. However, coming off on the Plymouth side, traffic is restricted coming into Plymouth because of this flooded stretch of Route 11 in Plymouth Township. Now, as we take a look at this, you would think the only way to traverse here is using a boat, and that's not very funny. There are parts of the Wyoming Valley where that is the only mode of transportation, and Andy Mehalshick tells us all about it.
Al Matukonis couldn't wait for warmer temperatures to arrive so he could do a little boating, maybe even fishing. But he never thought he'd be using his boat to get to and from his Plainsville home, now an island in the Susquehanna.
I lost just a few things that are floated out of the garage, out of the cellar, that I didn't carry out. Most of it I prepared for it.
Many in this community left. Those who stayed row, not drive, to their homes. Joe Williams built his home a year ago. He always heard the flood stories, but just never thought it would happen. And how does he like it?
Disgusting. I mean, what are you going to do? It's here, it's here. And all that we can do now is wait till the water goes down.
But Plainsville is not the only place in our area where rowboats are the main mode of transportation. Other homes are also totally surrounded by water. In fact, in other locations, some people have to use rowboats to get to work. Water from Toby's Creek now surrounds the Mark Plaza in Edwardsville. Kmart uses a boat to get its employees to work, but customers were left on shore unless they walked in like Louis Casterline.
I came down and I went and took a walk through the parking lot, and I had to dump my boots out because they filled up with water, and I'm kind of cold right now.
Others did try to drive through with higher vehicles. Others turned back, something they wish the floodwaters would do. Andy Mehalshick, Eyewitness News, Luzerne County.
And to recap, 2 important points. The Cary Avenue Bridge is open. However, traffic is restricted on Route 11 southbound because of flooding situations like this, which persist from here in Plymouth Township all the way through to the Berwick area. This is Kathy Bozinski with the Live Eye in Plymouth Township. Now let's go back to Don Timmeney in the studio. Don?
Thank you, Kathy. A swollen Susquehanna River continues to rise, but an end to the high waters may finally be in sight. Good evening, everyone. It is day 5 of the River Watch, but the waiting game could end early tomorrow morning. That's when the Susquehanna River is finally expected to crest in Wilkes-Barre, although people living in low-lying flood-ravaged areas will believe it when they finally see the water start to recede. We have a series of reports tonight, beginning with Kathy Bozinski, who is live along the river with the current river levels. Kathy?
Well, Don, from residents to reporters to emergency management officials, everyone is eagerly awaiting the crest, which hopefully should come overnight tonight. But in anticipation of that, let's take a look at our current river levels in Wilkes-Barre. Currently at Wilkes-Barre, we stand at 29.85 feet and rising. Now, however, the river has crested upstream at Towanda at about 22 feet and is now on the decline at 21.42 feet. The estimated crest time here in Wilkes-Barre should be in the next 2 to 3 hours and should come at about 30.5 feet. Obviously, everyone in this area can't wait for that crest to come and the waters to recede. This has been a nightmare situation for those who live in low-lying areas, and it has made for tough going for all the rest of us who must live, work, and travel throughout the area.
As twilight fell, the Cary Avenue Bridge was one of the few roadways adjacent to the river that was wide open. The turn south onto Route 11 in Plymouth is where the smooth driving ended. Traffic was restricted on 11 southbound because in Plymouth Township you drive smack into this. The highway follows the path of the Susquehanna, and washouts like this make most of 11 impassable straight through to Sunbury. In the northern end of the Wyoming Valley, Susquehanna Avenue in West Pittston has become one with the Susquehanna River. While no homes have been flooded, residents have a disturbing view of the raging waters. Just across the river, Jenkins Township has closed a section of River Road, not because it is inundated by water, but by sightseers trying to gauge the Susquehanna for themselves. Plains Township emergency management officials were keeping a vigil in the flooded Plainsville section, where at least 6 families have elected to stay in their homes.
They're tough and they just want to hang in there. This is nothing new to them. When the water comes up, they just prepare themselves. They move their furniture and stuff up and they just hang in there. Some of them said they sent out for extra food and they were ready to stay.
Those longtime residents believe floodwaters have topped 31 feet in this part of the township.
Obviously, the Wyoming Valley does not stand alone in its fight against the wrath of the Susquehanna River. Reporter Diana Penna takes us farther south in Luzerne County and to the west branch of Susquehanna now in Lewisburg.
The Susquehanna River has...
And back live here in the Wyoming Valley, the Susquehanna continues to rage, but hopefully the end in sight with the crusting coming within the next several hours at about 30½ feet. I'll be back later in this newscast to give us the very latest detailed information on river levels. This is Kathy Bozinski with the Live Eye at Nesbitt Park in Kingston. Dawn?
Thank you, Kathy. The Lackawanna River is also high tonight. River levels are up because water levels at the Stillwater Dam were up, and officials partially opened the floodgates today to keep the water from reaching the top of the spillway. Although the river went up, it is not expected to reach flood stage, and flooding is not anticipated throughout Lackawanna County. In Wyoming County, a state of emergency remains in effect as a swollen Susquehanna River continues to swallow up streets and invade homes. Dozens of people have been flooded out from Mashopin to Falls. Despite the high waters, however, some residents are staying put, hoping the waters will start to go down. In many hard-hit areas like Plainsville, boat is the only means of transportation. While some residents evacuated, those who are toughing it out row to get to their homes. In the Mark Plaza in Edwardsville, water from Toby's Creek surrounds the shopping plaza, leaving Kmart employees no choice but to row to work. Rain showers and even snow showers are in the forecast. Will they make matters worse? Let's turn to Vince Sweeney for an answer. Vince?
I think not, Dawn. I think all we're going to see overnight tonight, some showers. It's kind of drippy out there, you know, soggy, you get the idea. And one thing I want to caution folks about is fog, which we've been watching develop over the last several hours. It could get very dense, compounding all the problems. If you're traveling, watch for water on roadways, watch for fog. Now, what's happening here at 11 o'clock on our radar picture, still some rain, light rain, drizzle, and showers. And now starting to turn over to snow, especially in western Pennsylvania, Susquehanna, and Wayne counties. So we are looking for perhaps a mix of rain showers and snow showers, and maybe even a little slushy accumulation on the mountaintops overnight tonight. Have the full weekend AccuWeather forecast for you when I come back in just a couple of minutes, Dawn.
Thanks, Vince. A little of everything. Well, here's a check of river levels throughout northeastern and central Pennsylvania. In Wilkes-Barre, the river is at 29.85 feet. It is expected to crest at 30 to 30½ feet early tomorrow morning. In Towanda, the river is at 21.42 and receding. It crested earlier today at 22 feet. In Williamsport, the river is at 19 feet. In Sunbury, it's at 27 feet. In Danville, it's at 23.7 feet. It's expected to crest tomorrow. And at Lock Haven, the river is at 16½ feet this evening. Still to come on Eyewitness News Night. It looks like the end of the flooding may be near. The Susquehanna and Wilkes-Barre is expected to crest in the next couple of hours. For a look at river levels at this hour, we go live to reporter Kathy Bozinski, who is live along the river in Nesbitt Park again. Kathy?
Well, Dawn, it does continue to rise, but hopefully the end is in sight. I spoke recently with emergency management, and they gave me the very latest river information. Let's take a look at it. Currently in Wilkes-Barre, in the past hour, the river has gone up 0.2 of a foot. We are at 29.87 feet and rising. Once again, the river crested earlier today at Towanda, and it is on its way down now. It is currently at 21.36 feet and falling there. Once again, the river levels have been rising at about 0.2 of an hour for the past few hours. It's expected to crest somewhere in the next 2 to 3 hours at about 30½ feet. And once that happens, the good news is emergency management says that we should be out of flood stage by sometime Monday. That's it from the banks of the Susquehanna. This is Kathy Bozinski with the Live Eye in Kingston. Dawn.
Thank you, Kathy. And now for a look at the